You're listening to your host and psychotherapist, Rhonda Spaziani, on Spaz on Mental Health on greeninkradio.com.
Are you listening? He just repeated the words that came out of her mouth. Now they're listening.
Hi, this is Rhonda, and today's show and episode is about Scary Sibs, your twisted family tree. Is there a narcissist hiding in your tree? Could you be the victim or supply for a narcissist sibling? Interestingly, approximately 6% of the United States citizens, which equals 20 million people, are diagnosed as narcissists. 20 million. And so if you figure out that they abuse between 5 to 7 people in their circle, that's about 100 million people affected in the United States alone by this abuse. It's an epidemic, and it's so greatly under-recorded and reported. There are many reasons why people become narcissists. There is a genetic component. You're much more likely to have a narcissist sibling if you also have a narcissist parent or grandparent. It is an inheritable trait, but it's also environmentally created too. So it's considered a cluster B personality disorder. It goes along with the histrionic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and then there's the narcissistic personality disorder. They're very dramatic, overly emotional, very unpredictable, oftentimes without empathy, and very, very, very selfishly focused. So what is narcissistic personality disorder? How do you know if you have a scary sib? Well, it probably was going on most of your life, and you don't really know or didn't know that it was going on. So here's some of the key. There's actually 9 traits, but if you look at, there's an inflated sense of self-importance. If you do something well, they did something better. If you're sick, they're sicker. But that's the milder symptoms. There's this deep need for excessive attention and admiration because they're really basically really insecure. I liken it to, it's like water in a bucket of sand with no bottom. No matter how much attention, no matter how much admiration they get, they're never satisfied. They have a great lack of empathy for others. It's all about getting their own needs met. And it's always about power and control. And often what they do is they alienate parents and other siblings very purposefully against the supply or the victim, the abusee. So if you feel like maybe you've been abused or it's been going on, you're probably the scapegoat. If you're listening to this and thinking, I may have a scary sib, you may very well have a scary sib. What causes one sibling to be a narcissist and the other not? Well, it could be anything. It could be birth order, what's going on in the family at the time. It just is like anything. Some people get brown eyes, some people get blue eyes. And the victims or the scapegoats of the narcissist are usually a younger sibling who's within 5 years of age. So the older siblings may not quite get the impact of the narcissist sibling as much as a younger one will, because let's face it, probably most of your life they've been scapegoating and bullying you and controlling you. But there also was love and friendship, and you played with them, and you have a shared family history. So it's hard to be objective and know that this person is really a narcissistic abuser and that you've been a victim of abuse. And you may have developed complex PTSD from some of these behaviors. And some other things that they use is they use the family flying monkeys, and we'll talk about that on another episode. Those that will help spread the word against you or gang up on you. And then you may have apath, parents and siblings as well. That is not empath. It's the opposite. Apaths are, as long as it's not happening to them or they don't believe you, they are just not that concerned about it. And that can be really, really demoralizing and heartbreaking. Narcissists are pretty unhappy people overall. They often have depression and anxiety that go along with it. And you may ask, Can they get treatment? Can they get better? Well, cluster B personality disorders don't have great outcomes, therapeutic outcomes. They can get a little bit better. You can increase their self-esteem. Maybe there's some medical management that can happen that can reduce the depression and anxiety, and maybe they can become more aware of the outcomes and the impact of their behaviors. But remember, they're not going to really feel it like you are going to feel it. They're not going to develop empathy. And you may question yourself. There's a thing that they call gaslighting. That's a term that you're probably aware of. So if you call out a narcissist, what they'll do is they'll turn it around, and by the end of the conversation or the argument, you will leave totally depressed and feeling that you're the narcissist. They're masterful at manipulating and controlling the conversation and twisting everything onto you. And oftentimes in families, when this really flares, is anything to do around money, estate or family, income issues, or when a parent dies, or if there's money in play, they will become vicious around that. And they will do everything in their power to control you and probably cut you out if they can. And unfortunately, a lot of times parents get in line with this, particularly apath parents who are more concerned about their own needs being met. Generally, narcissists won't necessarily care for elderly parents, but they will if it's in their interest to be a martyr or to ingratiate themselves. So if you're looking through descriptors and your sibling isn't meeting every one of the narcissistic qualities, there's always variation. If they hit enough of them, you need to protect yourself. You're never going to win an argument with a narcissist, so fighting them head on is not the way. It is just not the way. And thinking that you're going to subvert them, you're not going to win because they're going to out-evil you. Remember, they are without empathy. They are often without guilt and conscience as well. They are really fully in their lane, looking what they want to get. They're like sharks. You wouldn't go and try to romance a shark. You cannot romance a narcissist. But what you can do is what my sister Raina says, is they're like radiation. You have to protect yourself. And what do they say about radiation? You need shield yourself, distance yourself, and time. And so that's what you do with narcissists. Think of them as radioactive human beings in your life. And unfortunately, they're in your family. My buddy Matt always used to tell me about anything that was going on politically or whatever in work. Don't wrestle in the mud with pigs because you'll both get dirty, but the pig will like it. Well, with a narcissist, I expand Matt's old saw and say, don't wrestle in the mud with narcissists because you'll both get dirty, and the narcissist will suffocate you in the mud. You're not going to win. So remember, they're like radiation. Time, distance, and shielding. The best thing to do is to remove yourself from the circumstance. If it's a sibling, if it's a romantic partner, whoever's in your life that's a narcissist, if it's a parent, you need to distance yourself. And then over time, maybe you can energize the relationships that have fallen by the wayside, but you're not going to do that by going, oh, that's not true, and being very defensive. You need to just distance yourself, and then over time, you'll start to re-energize those relationships. And we'll talk about that more on another podcast on how to do that. So I invite you to know that if you're feeling totally gaslit, you probably are. You will want to go talk to a therapist because you need some support. You probably have some complex PTSD stuff going on from this, and it's not the same thing, but narcissistic abuse can create, there's overlap with complex PTSD. And you're probably scratching your head and you're feeling really low self-esteem and you're feeling really beat up, probably even heartbroken depending on the severity of what's going on with your narcissistic sib. And please do go talk to a therapist. You can only heal yourself. You're never going to heal the narcissist. You're never going to heal the narcissist. But I want, if there's anything you take away from this today, know that it's not you. It's your scary sib. This is Rhonda. on Spaz on Mental Health on greeninkradio.com. We are sponsored by Green Ink Marketing and Communication, who brings your stories to life. Find them at greenink.us.com. Thank you.
Music provided by Immunuri. Check them out at imunuri.com. Thanks for listening to Spaz on Mental Health. Tune into greeninkradio.com to listen to other great shows hosted by a collective of imperfect gurus. greeninkradio.com, an experience for the curious mind.